Hello there, I'm MountPain27, and this is Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun. Today's episode will be dedicated to Plutonia 2, a spiritual sequel to Final Doom's Plutonia experiment released in 2008. The project was started in the year 2000 by Sam Woodman, aka Metabolist, changed hands several times throughout the decade, and eventually ended up in the care of Vincent Catalaá. He took charge of quality control, dispensing with 2/3 of the original 32 maps, and recruited some of the megawad's most important contributors, including Eternal, Kira, Pipicz, and of course, Gusta. Plutonia 2's title is a bit misleading. Sure, it intermittently pantomimes the Plutonia look and feel, but these maps are for the most part bigger, badder, and more ambitious than anything the Casali brothers could have produced in 1996. Under any other title, Plutonia 2 would be equally renowned today for its craftsmanship and ferocity in equal measure. So here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. On the quality side, the grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. Difficulty grades go from X to E. X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, I'm no Doom prodigy and I probably won't have the same ideas about what makes a great level as you do, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is really about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. Quickly before we start, the rules are we must play on ultraviolence and pistol start each level. I need to play the WAD twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom with compatibility set to strict, and now to the WAD. Map 1, Comeback. For an opener bearing Plutonia's brand, Comeback is downright accommodating. It rolls out the old familiar jungle aesthetic and doesn't waste your time. Some of the traps look familiar, but don't hit nearly as hard as you'd expect, but maybe that's my PTSD talking. Plutonia, traumatic stress disorder. There are no archviles in this map. Enjoy that while it lasts. Grade B, difficulty D. Map 2, Jungle Spirits. Plutonia 2 is already through exchanging pleasantries. Jungle Spirits introduces nearly the full Doom 2 monster roster and peppers you with a platoon of former humans. Thankfully, it's still archvile free. Whenever you spring teleport traps, run for cover because they're going to be punctuated with hit scanners. This double arachno blitz near the end is extra deadly. I don't even know how many chain gunners there are here. These drowning, shadow-drenched ruins seem faintly inspired by Plutonia's second map, and they're made doubly menacing by Jamie Robertson's MIDI, a simmering, furtive piece that'll keep you looking over your shoulder. I could recommend Plutonia 2 based on its soundtrack alone. It's that good. Grade B+, difficulty C+. Map 3, Skull Island. Skull Island hits like a fistful of gravel right in the kisser. It's got one of the hottest starts in the megawad, spares no expense with hit scanners, and the architectural crampage raises the pressure gauge in almost every major fight. If I were you, I'd take care of this lurking archvile early on and prioritize conserving rockets for the finale, a reimagining of that horrible Arachnotron pain elemental room from Aztec. Something I'll never forget about Plutonia 2 is the inclusion of these annoying doors that snap shut on you when you back away from them. Hold that thought, I'm going to vent about that later. Skull Island wears its emerald and brown beautifully, the combat's got that piquant Plutonia flavor, and this vintage Stewboy MIDI bops. Good stuff. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 4, Filth. This grungy cesspit earns its name almost to the point of detriment. Filth is much easier and shorter than most of Plutonia 2, though subpar ammo management will earn you a visit from the Reaper. Snag the super shotgun early, as the fairly high mid-tier monster density becomes a drag to exercise without it. I'm not too keen on this one. Filth probably captures OG Plutonia's mojo better than a lot of what we'll see later, but that doesn't keep it from feeling like a clunker after Skull Island. Grade C+, difficulty C. Map 5, Flooded Chapel. The first quintessentially Gusta map from Plutonia 2, Flooded Chapel was his first submission to the project, which is impressive when you see how closely the rest of his work adheres to the design principles implemented here. If you're a Gusta map in Plutonia 2, you've got to have 1. A hot start, usually with snipers and turret enemies, 2. Chunkier monsters or clumps of hit scanners placed between the player and escape, 3. Interconnectedness, there's always more than one way of getting somewhere, 4. Abundant height variation, manifested especially in moats, gullies, and parapets, 5. Ambushes, lots of them, often involving archviles, and 6. For bonus points, the map should be steeping in some kind of liquid. Blood, water, nukage, doesn't matter. Flooded Chapel is the first map in Plutonia 2 that gives me trouble even though I played it a bunch. It requires aggression and good planning to clear out safe spaces for yourself without getting winged, surprised, or overwhelmed. Gusta favors fluid, continuous combat, and his open layouts permit enemies to roam around and screw you over if you neglect them. The effect is pretty exhausting, especially so early in the WAD. Grade B, difficulty B+. Map 6, Collider Complex. Newbies beware. Without foreknowledge of or the will to find this map's secrets, Collider Complex can become a barren slog in a hurry. Clocking in at over 300 monsters, this map is much more onerous than anything you'd see in Plutonia 1. A new nastiness awaits behind each colorful door. The red key opens a multi-part slugfest that will end in tears if you're too blind to find the rocket launcher. The switch that lowers the blue key springs 2 pain elementals on you and unleashes a pack of pinkies, hell knights, and barons. And when you grab the blue key, get ready to face a garrison of chain gunners and a murder of revenants at the top of the stairs. Through the blue door, you'll find a couple of essential secret caches and this hyperbolic encounter. That's Plutonia with a fat exclamation mark behind it. If you've been taking care of your health and saved up on rockets and cells, the final room is totally manageable, but if you're down to bullets and shells after dispatching the cyber demon outside, kiss 100% kills goodbye. I did forget about the BFG secret and made it out just fine this time around, so I might be exaggerating a bit, but ever since my first playthrough ended in a losing boxing match between me and 10 Hell Nobles, I'm inclined to err on the side of caution. Grade B+, difficulty B+. Map 7, enemy caught. Caught yard squared. This rollicking shootout would be a laugh and a half were it not for the chain gunners that appear on the wall tops after you kill the Megabai. I can never seem to fit a clean rocket through their sniping windows, and the super shotgun doesn't quite do the trick either. For that reason, mounting the wall tops proves more frustrating in this map than in Plutonia Map 7. Enemy caught is essentially over once you clear the opening and find the secret megasphere. Spring some traps, shoot down the hyperactive Archie, and punch out. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 8, Harmony. Ha ha. Harmony. Harmony. Well, I enjoy the map less than the pun, I'm afraid. Harmony tries too hard to bust your balls from pistol start. If you don't want to run out of shells, you have to run around carefully and pick off survivors of infighting at close range. Health is also scarce, and the arbitrary secret rocket launcher hidden in the wall is too important to be arbitrary or a secret. There aren't too many zombies, but they always seem to land hits at inconvenient moments, and it feels like I'm being done dirty when the map gives me single-digit stim packs and medikits to compensate. Harmony feels underdeveloped. It's short, average-looking, and unnecessarily stringent. Believe it or not, Tango would go on to design Back to Saturn X Episode 1's Tough Skin River from small beginnings. Grade C+, difficulty B. Map 9, Wormhole Zone. Get ready for another Gusta special. He always makes sure you know whose map you're playing right from the start. There is a correct way to play Wormhole Zone, but I'll be damned if I know what it is or how to explain it. Depending on which way the level geometry leads you, you could get lit up like a Christmas tree or get the jump on the firing squad. You could bumble into a massive fight or get bailed out by well-timed infighting. One thing I do know is you don't want to hit this switch, which lowers the rocket launcher, until you kill the caged Archie at the start. He can make your life miserable on the ground. Also, don't forget to pick up the BFG after you jump for the yellow key. You'll need that kind of hardware for the ending. I always conflate Wormhole Zone with Map 5, which is why it came as no surprise to read in the text file that Gusta made it right after Flooded Chapel. The way I tell them apart is Wormhole Zone is harder. Grade B, difficulty B+. Map 10, Cosmodrome. It won't be long before abuse becomes commonplace in this megawad, so it's important to relish the little things, like watching the spaceship lift off while the demon cadets left stranded below beat the snot out of each other. Cosmodrome is my favorite Thomas van der Velden map in the set. It unfolds at a leisurely pace, gives you plenty of room to move around, and doesn't squeeze you for ammo. I particularly enjoy this basement ambush and the surprise Kako party by the blue key. These Doom 2 references are great, though I gotta wonder what they're doing in a Plutonia wad. Actually, I guess the original Plutonia sampled its fair share of Doom 2 too. Cosmodrome is my pick for the sleeper hit of Plut 2's first episode. Grade A-, difficulty C. Map 11, Arch Violence. Arguably the most notorious level in the megawad, Arch Violence quintuples down on Plutonia's Archvile Maze gimmick. Remember how 14 Flame Boys seemed like a lot back when you first played Hunted? Well, there are 75 in play here, and their stomping ground is much larger, so step back, get zapped for a megasphere, and have at 'em. This is the map I dread most in Plutonia 2. It's not the longest or the most difficult, but for my money it is the most tedious. There's a limited number of Archvile only encounters you can possibly construct, and after 10 minutes it feels like you've seen them all. This room with a pair of teleporting Archviles is horrendous. Try to hurry through it and you'll waste a lot of ammo, but counterattack too slowly and you'll spend most of your time ducking behind corners. My favorite part comes after you obtain the red and blue keys. This bizarro building, evidently inspired by MC Escher, is Thomas van der Velden's main contribution. It's surreal and intense, and I wish the whole map could have been like this. Get the yellow key and a BFG, and it's time for the final battle. By now you might have noticed the soft purring of Archviles hasn't stopped even though you've killed everything in sight. That's because they're stowed in the walls, and 12 of the bastards get released when you try to leave. Good luck, Marine. Your reward for surviving this fiery gauntlet is death. 9 more angry Martians await you at the exit, and the map ends when your health sinks below 10. Gusta deserves some credit for making his map prettier and somewhat less confusing than Hunted, but Arch Violence has none of the charm or shock value that Plutonia Map 11 commanded in the 90s. It's a downer and a bore. Grade C-, difficulty A-. Map 12, Imprisoned. In one of the more laughable premises I've come across in my dooming travels, Doom Guy has been captured by the demons and thrown in jail, because apparently they have too much respect for the judicial process to just kill him. Well, time to cancel your arraignment. You're supposed to start this map with critically low health, but joke's on you, map, we're pistol starting. For a level made up of 4 different authors' spare parts, Imprisoned hangs together nicely. I really like this room's spooky lighting, and the punchy outdoor skirmish by the yellow key. The tower at the end is cool too. It's got a nice view and puts a bow in the whole map. Grade B+, difficulty C+. Map 13, Hard Facility. They're not kidding. Hard Facility is where Plutonia 2 really starts to lay its boot to your groin. This verdant stronghold is packed to the gills with unfriendly faces, and escape routes aren't as plentiful as they would be in a Gusta exclusive. Relatedly, it's easy to lose your place in this map. These blue bars are especially confusing. They're not an entrance, they're an exit. The chain gunner placement gets oppressive at times, as do the pervasive road-blocking Macubi, Hell Knights, Cacos, Barons, Revenants, and of course, Archviles. I could have saved myself a lot of grief if I hadn't been bumbling around without a super shotgun for the first 15 minutes of this recording. Take that as a sign of this map's feasibility, I suppose. The final fight might have you calling for your brown pants at first glance, but don't despair. You can just hide and let everything infight. Snipe the snipers and deal with 2 more Archies to close this one out. Grade B, difficulty A. Map 14, Charon Eclipse. This bloody horror show is a better remake than Genesis deserves. Charon Eclipse is taut and ruthlessly efficient. Its narrow walkways, damaging floors, and penchant for surprise attacks make it a hostile experience, and it's rendered even more sinister by Jamie Robertson's MIDI, which hits like a ghost's breath on the back of your neck. Do yourself a favor and find as many secrets as you can. The map proper is fairly stingy with supplies, but Eternal is the best in the biz at crafting secrets which both reward and delight. Without the secret BFG, this goon squad of Mancubi, chain gunners, and a cyber demon can easily take you to task, and this last trap is eviler than a razor blade in your banana split. So yeah, find that BFG. Grade A-, difficulty A-. Map 15, Where Hate Runs Red. This remix of Speed may be lean, but it doesn't waste a single monster. Don't fire a shot in the first room or you'll wake up an Archvile and a posse of Cacos and Pain Elementals, which shouldn't be left to their own devices. Head to the left first and deal with a lightly attended Cyber Demon guarding the blue key. Next up is a gaggle of Revenants, another Cyber Demon, and an Archvile. I get a kick out of making them all kill each other. Hose down the Cyber Demon, ground the flock of meatballs, and don't forget about the secret Megasphere if you need a pick-me-up. Kira is kind enough to lend you a BFG for the Archvile triple team at the exit, and that gesture really endears this map to me, no matter how many times it already incinerated my ass. Grade A-, difficulty B+. Map 31, Cyber Nation. Probably the most faithful adaptation of Plutonia's first secret map on the market, Cyber Nation is an overgrown cyber demon playpen that reprises all the old favorites. Archviles attacking from behind fake walls, double-doored challenge rooms with Macubi, Pinkies, and chain gunners, and of course, a few rounds with Hell's heavyweight champs. Since it's Plutonia 2, each switch opens 2 cyber demons at a time, but thankfully you don't need to wake them up simultaneously. Don't forget, this is also an Eternal map, so you'll probably need to do some secret hunting if you don't want to knuckle dust those Cybes to death. Everybody and their doom-addicted brother already saw this coming, but this exit is a fake. It'll summon Arachnotrons, Revenants, another Cyber, and a Spider Mastermind. Fortunately, they're pretty harmless if you just run away, bottleneck them in this corner, and let them kill each other. Cyber Nation's edits to the original only improve the experience, and I already liked Cyber Den plenty. Grade A, difficulty A-. Map 32, Go For It. You want to hear something scary? This is not the hardest map Plutonia 2 had ready for you. Less a direct sequel than a hodgepodge of references, Go For It embraces a kind of excess similar to its predecessor, but since the fights come in discrete waves, it's actually a lot more manageable than Go To It for the most part. I repeat, for the most part. Again, since it's Plutonia 2, there are twice as many Archviles to deal with than in Go To It. Almost every ambush is spiked with them. Picking up the blue key is the worst. It sets off a firestorm of teleporting foes, inside, outside, and upside down. After that, you've still got 5 more distinct stages, and this is where Go For It becomes more than just Go To It 2. You've got a room full of Revenants and 4 Archviles, then a Baron Cyber Demon Caco courtyard, then a blood fountain that conjures ghost Nazis and a nice tip of the cap to Dario Casali, then 3 pop-up Cyber Demons, and then, well, just look at this. I try to think of this ending as a joke, a friendly fourth wall break that isn't meant to be taken seriously, because the alternative is I pull my hair out for half an hour trying to BFG an army of hit scanners, 2 masterminds, and 4 cyber demons while hitting switches and dodging 8 monster spawners worth of shit. Grade B+, difficulty X-. Map 33, Chocolate. Plutonia 2's super secret level is also its most irrelevant, probably an outtake saved from the cutting room floor at the last minute. It's like Well of Souls except browner, made up mostly of corridors more lifeless than the rocky exteriors. This mancubous cliffside is a major hassle without the secret rocket launcher, but if you found this map right after finishing the megawad, it's also the only fight that'll push you. The random Cyberdemon cameo at the end seems tacked on arbitrarily, but it's one of exactly two things that stick in my head about this map, the other being the name. Grade B-, difficulty B-. Map 16, Predatorium. Kicking off a Gusta triple feature, Predatorium goes for the throat from frame 1. Like Flooded Chapel and Wormhole Zone, this sadistic jungle gym never gives you a moment of peace. Some of these traps can flay you alive, and the Archvile Surveillance Conclave will bother you until you lay hands on the rocket launcher. Ammo's a bit tight, and you have a few power-ups to manage, namely this invulnerability, which I like to pop right before the red key trap eviscerates me. It can also facilitate an early exit. Archvile jump up here, hit the switch, and you can beat the level in under 60 seconds. The worst part of Predatorium is this awkward Cyberdemon battle. In this recording I charged him and got lucky, so maybe you can too. Grade B+, difficulty A-. Map 17, Nuclear Horror. The grinding, circuitous nuclear horror is Gusta's mapping shtick writ large. It's got dozens of overlapping small to medium-sized encounters, perched snipers, involved key hunting, and enough ambushes to give you whiplash. I was lucky to complete this map in under a half hour of in-game time, but my first attempt must have taken twice as long. If you've been buying what Gusta's selling so far, this might end up being your favorite map in Plutonia 2. It's chaotic and non-linear, with plenty of health pickups and a couple of helpful secrets snugly hidden, and it packs twice as many thrills as a typical Gusta joint. For my part, this kind of map doesn't get any more fun the second time around. Unless I just played it, I'm not gonna know where I'm going, and then I'm tortured by the thought of I've played this before and I'm still lost. Long story short, Nuclear Horror is a hallmark Gusta map. Handsome, intricate, and satisfying to fans of his work. Grade B, difficulty A-. Map 18, Buckets of Blood. This one hits the spot. Buckets of Blood is one of Gusta's best combat showcases. The opening is one of his craziest yet, and the ambushes are big, decisive, and explosive. He really nailed the aesthetic too. I dig the blood, brick, and steel combination. The red key fight is probably my favorite in the map. 2 waves of chain gunners, revenants, hell knights, and an archvile. Gives me that nice singed feeling I always associate with Plutonia. The blue key room is another double-barreled death trap. You're given plenty of room to maneuver, but it always feels extra unmerciful for some reason. The final stage is a bit of a letdown. You can hide from the mastermind and our floating contingent in the starting room, easily pick them off or start them infighting. Buckets of blood? More like buckets of fun. Grade A-, difficulty A-. Map 19, Hecknology. Strange as it may sound, this sludgy tech base is your last respite before Plutonia 2 goes on a 6-map killing spree. The first half hurts the most. Clearing out these toxic vats and gathering sufficient firepower and courage to tackle the blue key room are your 2 biggest obstacles here. The rocket launcher is trapped, the plasma rifle is in storage, and both of them are critical to your surviving the lunacy that ensues when you grab the blue key. I'm not sure if taking this back entrance starts you with an advantage or not, but after the Cyberdemon shows up, I don't suggest using it. After the dust clears, find a way to safely eliminate the chain gunners, hell knights, revenants, and archviles back in the room with the vats. The secret invulnerability can be helpful here or in the next encounter through the blue door. The final fight is pretty simple if you're quick, keep your distance, and don't panic at the sight of Cyberdemons. Grade A-, difficulty A. Map 20, Lurking Fear. Jesus Christ. Lurking Fear legitimately scares me. It's not simply ominous or hard to beat, it's got chaos in the marrow of its bones. There are certain encounters in this map that will never feel within your ability to control. This angina-inducing blue key fight with a flood of revenants and drooling pinkies, this caco swarm you can only survive by making fast friends with the Cyberdemon. I lack the ability to explain this horrific clusterfuck without bafflement or profanity, this putrescent, gore-drenched tunnel overflowing with ways to die, and the final battle, which can only be described as unholy wrath. Arachnotrons clomping around in the boiling blood, a squad of revenants on your tail, a Cyberdemon turret, and a gout of pain elementals choking the air with their spawn. Direct confrontation is suicide. Find somewhere to hide and wait, or you'll exhaust your ammo and almost certainly die. What truly cements the legend of Lurking Fear is Jamie Robertson's MIDI, which is the personification of evil. This is the iconic Plutonia 2 map. Grade A. Difficulty X-. Map 21, Assassin. A loose merger of Plutonia's Slayer and Living End remakes, Assassin is unyieldingly brutal, staging fierce fights in cramped spaces, mostly over damaging floor. Despite its cruelty, this map would get a much warmer reception from me if Pipicz didn't also jump at every available chance to be a dick about doors. Maybe it's his calling card or something, but every Plutonia 2 map Pipicz worked on has at least one of these stupid doors that slam shut when you back away from them. It's meant to discourage door fighting, I guess, but maybe if you don't want players to door fight fight, don't place doors. Door doesn't even sound like a real word anymore. There's also 2 doors at the beginning which make you hit skull switches to open them, which is arguably even more annoying. The worst offender by far is the red key door, if you don't know how to deal with it. Unlike the other quick closing doors, this one can be cheesed, and finding this out after 2 abysmal experiences with this map really gave me a sting. Here's how this fight is supposed to go. And here's how I used to do it. Even if you play it safe, this room is bloody murder. Chain gunners, imps, barons, bulky arachnotrons, mancubi napalming you from afar, and then a cyber demon, naturally. What a mess. Fun fact, this level's MIDI is called I Will Chop Mariah Carey's Head Off with a Chainsaw. Make of that what you will. Grade C, difficulty A. Map 22, Locus Perditus. How you deal with this map's opening and closing is the difference between Locus Perditus being one of the 3 hardest maps in Plutonia 2, and it being merely very hard. If you don't want to suffer, listen up. Punch the skeleton, hit the teleporter, spin around, grab the shotguns, shoot the barrels for bonus points, hit another teleporter, hide behind the spider mama, and watch go down. Then, sneak away, snag a BFG, eat the megasphere, and you're golden. Gather the blue and red keys to raise the bridge to the final fight. The initial surge can be picked apart from afar, but the situation devolves quickly after that. Brave 2 unfair waves of chain gunners and revenants in the dark, and get ready for the coup de grace. This cyber demon double whammy is one of the most punishing moments in the megawad, especially if you're low on cells. This recording actually marks the first time I've 100% of this map. I usually skip the cybers out of spite. Grade B+, difficulty A+. Map 23, Aztecorum. For being nearly a decade older than most of Plutonia 2's maps, Aztecorum kicks ass. It boasts one of the hottest starts in the megawad and carries that aggression almost all the way to the end. But there's really only one reason people remember Aztecorum, the yellow key fight in the Bloody Lake. It's an instantly iconic, jaw-dropping, heart-pounding spectacle that will have you pumping your fist along to I-Sawed the demons like it's 1993. This is what Doom is all about. The map peters out in its final act, throwing a few wimpy ambushes and archviles at you when you're BFG'd up, but the blistering start, blockbuster centerpiece, and pleasant vintage feel score a lot of points with me. Grade A-, difficulty A+. Map 24, Outpost of the Evil Dead. Eric Alm was a Doom celebrity in 2008, so playing Outpost of the Evil Dead back then must have been even more disappointing. There's nothing wrong with the map per se, but it's so blasé that Alm himself, quote, only vaguely remembers making it. This is the first of a few placements in Plutonia 2's final leg that don't make a ton of sense. Outside of a few wicked ambushes, this map is markedly easier than the previous 5. And then there are little things, like the rocket launcher being hidden at the bottom of a flight of stairs below your eye level, and the map locking you in with the cyber demon at the end, which keeps you from being able to backtrack. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about this one. It's Eric Alm. Just play it, smiley face. Grade B, difficulty A-. Map 25, Black Ice. Check this out. The irony of the hottest start in Plutonia 2 belonging to a winter-themed map is not lost on me. Black Ice is aptly named, because it'll put you on your back if you're careless. This section with the caged mancubi and archvile sentinels is particularly pitiless. Notice how Gusta places barons below you on either side so you can't easily snipe the archies. Save as many rockets as you can for the influx of demons that appear when you go through the ice tunnel. There are archviles tucked in these mosh pits, and rockets are the only reliable way to dispose of them, believe me. After that, the level opens up considerably. This overlook with the long-range cyber demons is one of my favorite rooms in Plutonia 2, with its white-knuckled action and stark, frost-bitten visuals. If you can survive the famine of Black Ice's first half, you shouldn't have much trouble finishing it out, provided you're better than I am at dodging cyber demon rockets. This is Gusta's standout map. It's sleek, challenging, atmospheric, and equipped with a perfect Jimmy Paddock MIDI. Grade A, difficulty A+. Map 26, Plutopia. Plutopia is one of the least intimidating maps in the set unless you're factoring in atmosphere. Most of these fights would be charitable even in Plutonia 1, but the combined effect of Jimmy Paddock's MIDI and Thomas Vandervelden's strong eye for detail is quite disconcerting. I don't know if it's megawad fatigue or a reflection on the map itself, but I can't bring myself to connect with Plutopia at all. Perhaps Gusta's maps leave me over-caffeinated, but Plutopia is a bit boring. Grade B-, difficulty B-. Map 27, Red Hot. Are we playing Mach 2 the speed of stupid? What the hell is this MIDI? Red Hot is interesting to look at, and there's a fun fight with a lot of pinkies and a spider mastermind smack dab in the middle of it. But beyond that, this is the weirdest, and I want to say dumbest map in Plutonia 2. Most of the action consists of running away from random teleport ambushes, the layout is flat, cramped, and corridor heavy, and if at the end you find yourself scratching your head over 17 missing monsters, don't worry, it's not your fault. The map is just bugged. I don't know how Red Hot made it past quality control, let alone to the 27 slot. Grade C-, difficulty B-. Map 28, The Blood Wall. This daunting underworld adventure is one of my favorite levels in Plutonia 2. Coming back to this map after having discovered Epic and Hellground only deepened my respect for Eternal. In keeping with the Plutonia ethos, the Blood Wall is built to punish newcomers, but it retains the qualities that make Eternal's maps so distinctly his. The sensation of exploring forgotten or forbidden places, plentiful, creatively hidden secrets, foreboding ambiance, and lots of chain gunners. The Blood Wall contains some of the most vicious traps in the megawad. This skeletal surprise party right at the start, and this oh shit moment by the yellow skull switch can wreck you if you don't know they're coming. The clear highlight for me is this cavernous, much too quiet arena that unfurls in a battery of skirmishes with cyber demons, archviles, cacos, revenants, barons, and more. The suspense is delicious, supplies are abundant, and satisfaction is guaranteed. The Blood Wall is Eternal's finest contribution to Plutonia 2. It's exciting, atmospheric, and adds gravity to the entire set. Grade A, difficulty A-. Map 29, Ticket to Eternity. The most labor-intensive, oppressive, and purely frustrating map in Plutonia 2 is Ticket to Eternity, a radically reinterpreted odyssey of noises given several steroid injections by our two favorite Czech sadists, Gusta and Pipicz, and accompanied by one last stomach-churning Jamie Robertson MIDI. Now you know what you're in for. Nuclear horror and arch-violence bow to this labyrinthine behemoth. Ticket to Eternity requires a lot of mental conditioning to navigate even semi-competently, and the full hour of concentration it demands is a lot to ask of a player who's taken 30 maps worth of abuse already. No individual encounters really merit discussion here, just prepare to be blindsided by sniping archviles, demon flash mobs, and long-range cyber demon rockets. If you can track down 5 incredibly hidden Commander Keens, you'll be privy to a fun thanks for playing Easter egg. Look, I have no criticism for the visuals or the dread-inducing atmosphere, but I'm also unlikely to enjoy a map that exists solely to exhaust and confuse me. Grade B-, difficulty X-. Map 30, The Gatewatcher. There's nothing wrong with an icon of Sin map that just wants to finish the job and go home early. Grab your guns and get ready for an old-fashioned Doom 2 showdown. Try to kill all 3 cyber demons guarding the switches that raise your way to the icon's level, then pump rockets into his eye sockets before things get too crowded down below. Land enough hits, and it's game over. Grade B, difficulty B. So, it boggles the mind to think that Plutonia 2 is older than Plutonia was when its sequel was released. Though some of these maps do show their age, the majority of this megawad is still in fighting form. PL2 was an excellent showcase for its contemporaneous A-list mappers, and it's an interesting throwback for Eternal and Tango, who went on to make even bigger names for themselves. As for Gusta, it's borderline tragic that the maps he made for Plutonia 2 turned out to be his last. I mean, never say never, but it has been well over a decade now. My first Plutonia 2 playthrough more than a year ago left me bent out of shape, but I'm happy to report that developing Doom-related calluses gives you a certain appreciation for what the Plutonia 2 boys were trying to do. My final grade for this megawad is an A-. Difficulty-wise, Plutonia 2 hangs comfortably with the big boys and deserves a solid A+. Keep in mind, this is the easiest megawad we'll be playing on Dean of Doom this month. Now for my Dean's list. Valedictorian, Map 20, Lurking Fear. Salutatorian, Map 25, Black Ice. Class President, Map 29, Ticket to Eternity, and the dunce cap goes to Map 27, Red Hot. Plutonia 2 also qualifies for an honor roll, so here it is. Map 3, Skull Island. Map 7, Enemy Caught. Map 10, Cosmodrome. Map 14, Charon Eclipse. Map 15, Where Hate Runs Red. Map 31, Cyber Nation. Map 18, Buckets of Blood. Map 19, Hecknology. Map 23, As Decorum. And Map 28, The Blood Wall. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts on the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. I'd like to take a moment now to acknowledge my generous patrons. Aaron Allen, Aaron Berger, Akalai, Alec Wehrman, Alexander Semenkov, Alex Topfer, Alex Max, Ari Adair, Builder Sith, Callum Duncan, Kappa Bitch, Cheese Wheel, Chris Duthat, Chris O'Neill, Christophine Place, Kiara P, Crafty One Cal, Dan, Delirium, Dorothy Miller, Emma Essex, Enraged Eggplant, Final Brett, Furnace, Garu Dave, General Roasterock, Glenn Marmon, Griffin Upchurch, Gus Shade, Holy Hell Revealed When, In Captivity, Jared C. Bly, Jesse Taylor, Josh Ballard, Camille Bernadotte, Leon Staten, Mark Rowland, Marky Music, Master Drew 117, Matthew Gower, Mixer, Mr. Bob Syndaquil, Myolden, Neurometry, Nick Machado, Number 26, One True Purple, Pyro She, Sega Monkey, Sid Menon, Spinner 8, Stupid Nick, Susanna Grimm, Tara Kushino, The Bell Tolls, TJG1289, Turbine 2K5, and Why BMO Not a Crab. Thank you. I appreciate you all. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you in the next installment of Hard Sequels Month on Dean of Doom.